but they can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
This is CNN, home of fake news.
All week long, former President Donald Trump and his team have been spiking the football on President Biden's chaotic exit from Afghanistan. It's worth reminding everybody just who moved the ball to the goal line. Some key Trump officials have conveniently forgotten that.
What are you, fucking stupid?
It was Trump who laid the foundation for the current U.S. withdrawal. It was Trump who was going to meet with Taliban leaders at Camp David before canceling at the last minute.
It's inconceivable that anybody could be so incompetent, stupid, use any word you want to use, to imagine that you take out your military before you take out your U.S. citizens and civilians and others that maybe helped us. To even think of that is not, it's not something that can be believed.
He praised them time and again.
And you're going to find a very tough opponent. I mean, these are great fighters. They've been fighting for 2,000 years. That's what they do is they fight. You do other things, Greg, okay? You know, like going to a Broadway show. You like doing other things. They fight. That's all they do.
Just last April, Trump released a statement saying getting out of Afghanistan is a wonderful and positive thing to do, insisting that his own timeline of a May 1st pullout was the way to go. Biden pushed it off until the end of August. But in June, Trump was bragging he had all but tied Biden's hands to the withdrawal.
And he's now overseeing the greatest foreign policy humiliation in the history of the United States of America. This is the greatest humiliation I've ever seen. Biden's botched exit in Afghanistan is the most astonishing display of gross incompetence by a nation's leader, perhaps at any time that anybody's ever seen. Name another situation like this. All he had to do is leave the soldiers there until everything's out, our citizens, our weapons. Then you bomb the hell out of the bases. We have 5 bases. And you say, bye-bye.
The reality is both parties own this fiasco.
Bullshit.
Warning. Warning. Bullshitter alert. Bullshitter alert.
The reality is both parties own this fiasco.
That was bullshit.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Obama did not end the war. Trump did not end the war. Biden is trying to end the war, which, by the way, is something the American people generally support.
This has been a failure to plan or a plan to fail. Either way, it is a decision made by this administration, and you can't blame the last administration. If the last administration was wrong, then darn it, go ahead and reverse it. But if you're going to say the last administration was right, you could at least execute it properly. They clearly were not planning to take the people out that they're now taking out. They hadn't identified names. There's a long list of
that process was decimated during the Trump administration. As you know, Congressman, some of the pro-immigration or anti-immigration hawks, I should say, inside the Trump administration has all but shut down much of that process for bringing those folks into the country. And so the Biden administration, by and large, is having to rebuild part of that.
I appreciate your saying it, and I appreciate it's your opinion. The fact is, although the administration reduced the number of certain types of visas, those number of visas rise and fall regularly, and the system was not shut down.
Now, there are some Republicans and Democrats who warned against pulling out of the country this quickly. But if all of this is about competence, do you really want to leave that to Trump?
You're goddamn right.
If you thought Infrastructure Week was a blast, just wait for Trump's Afghanistan Week. Of course, there are some on the right who simply want to make hay out of the issue. But I digress. The pictures of Afghans clinging to military planes are not what riles up the Fox audience. It's these images of Afghans loaded onto those planes.
Is it really our responsibility to welcome thousands of potentially unvetted refugees from Afghanistan? All day we've heard phrases like, we promised them. Well, who did? Did you?
You think Trump was going to bring all of these Afghan partners back to the U.S.? Let's ask one of the architects of Trump's immigration policy.
The United States of America never, ever made a promise, written or unwritten, to the people of Afghanistan that if after 20 years they were unable to secure their own country, that we would take them to ours. That is nonsense. That has never been U.S. government policy.
Or as another pro-Trump propagandist put it, raise your hand if you want this plane landing in your town. I can think of somebody raising her hand. Anybody ever heard the line, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free? The Statue of Liberty says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. It doesn't say anything about speaking English or being able to be a computer programmer. Aren't you trying to change what it means to be an immigrant coming into this country if you're telling them you have to speak English? Can't people learn how to speak English when they get here?
Well, first of all, right now, it's a requirement that to be naturalized, you have to speak English. So the notion that speaking English wouldn't be a part of our immigration systems would be actually very ahistorical. Secondly, I don't want to get off into a whole thing about history here, but the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of liberty enlightening the world. It's a symbol of American liberty lighting the world. The poem that you're referring to that was added later is not actually part of the original Statue of Liberty, but more fundamentally, the history, but more fundamentally,
you're saying
the
that
history
that does not represent.
I'm saying that the notion. I'm saying the notion that I'm saying the notion.
Stephen, I'm sorry.
No,
Jim.
Let me ask you a question.
That sounds like some national park revisionism.
No, what I'm asking you is.
The Statue of Liberty
Jim,
has always been
let me ask you a question.
Of hope to the world.
Jim,
for people to send.
Jim, do you believe
people to this country?
Jim,
and they're not.
Jim, can I call you Jim?
Be a computer programmer.
Jim, shut the fuck up, Jim. Jim, I love your little speech and all, but why don't we talk a little history? In the year 2000, did you know a mutant known as Wolverine scaled the Statue of Liberty in a climactic showdown with Sabretooth? Or in the fucking 1980s, when the Ghostbusters brought the Lady Liberty to life with the power of ectoplasm, was that violating, in your opinion, Jim Acosta, the Statue of Liberty, law of the land? What about when her head was bowled down Broadway by a Gojira in an incident codenamed Operation Cloverfield? What about that shit?
The images out of Afghanistan are hard to look at. There's no question about it. Perhaps that's to be expected when you try to end what's been called the forever war.
Hey, this is not a withdrawal. This was a total surrender. They surrender for no reason. They weren't asking. We had them. I dealt with Abdul. He was the leader. I said, Abdul, anything happens, we are going to rain terror upon you. It will be a terrible thing. Don't touch our American citizens. Don't ever come to our country. Don't ever come to our country. And you're going to continue fighting your civil war. I can't do that. They've been fighting it for hundreds of years. That's what they do, is they fight. And they're good fighters. But I had a good relationship other than that one statement. I said, after I said that, I said, now let's get down to business. And we had a conditions-based agreement. And they didn't meet the first two conditions, and we hit them hard. I am your voice.
The numbers plummeted towards the end of the Trump administration. I want to move to one final thing, Congressman, before we go, and that is I want to ask you about the recall election to replace the California governor there, Gavin Newsom. Right now, the Republican frontrunner is an outspoken talk show host named Larry Elder. He's made a number of disparaging remarks about women. I want you to listen to this. Let me ask you about this on the other side.
When you look at all these women that have marched, something like 2 million women, Donald Trump has probably gotten more obese women off the couch and in the streets working out than Michelle Obama did in 8 years.
Do you think Larry Elder should be the next governor of California?
I think Larry Elder, with tens of thousands of hours on the air, entertaining and thought-provoking, if that's the most
that's not
you can
entertaining.
find,
That's disgusting. What he just said is disgusting. I mean, that's not entertainment.
I appreciate, Jim, you're saying it's disgusting. That certainly was by most people's standards, a quip of a radio talk show person who, like plenty of the famous ones, including Rush Limbaugh, who used various statements, including some bombastic statements from time to make a point in tens of thousands of hours. If that's the best you have, you don't really have anything on Larry Elder.